Zurich Film Festival. Conversations that celebrate cinema. 'Cause life is better with movies. This episode is presented by Deadline.
All right. Hello everybody. Welcome. My name is Diana Loderhose. I am the features editor at Deadline. Thank you for waiting, and I think we're gonna have an amazing session today. Thanks for all being here. Thank you to the Zurich Film Festival. Please, can I welcome to the stage Mr. Colin Farrell. I think they like you.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Thanks for coming.
So, first time in Zurich?
First time in Zurich.
And impressions so far?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, really gorgeous. God, tranquil, extraordinarily pretty on the eyes. The lake is beautiful. The architecture, it's old. People are kind. The coffee is good. It feels really lovely to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really delighted to be. As I said, never before. We arrived yesterday, and it's been kind of non-stop since, but in a lovely way.
Great place to launch a film or kind of, show a film, isn't it? So
Feels like that.
yeah. So you're here, of course, with Ballad of a Small Player.
Yeah.
So let's maybe start talking about that film. I mean, what a sensory... I mean, if you haven't seen this film, I implore you to. It is fantastic. Your performance is phenomenal.
Thank you.
It is such a sensory overload. I mean, the music, the lights, it's set in Macau. Everything about it is very full on. I'd love to know for you, kind of, what was it that drew you to this project?
Just the same thing that usually draws me to everyone. Just the script was beautiful. I had seen Edward Berger's work. I had seen a show that he did called Patrick Melrose with Benedict Cumberbatch years ago. And I thought that was extraordinary storytelling. And then I saw All Quiet on the Western Front and Conclave. Ed and I were talking about doing The Ballad of a Small Player before All Quiet on the Western Front came out. And then it just took off for him, just globally, internationally. I mean, he's been an extraordinary storyteller for years, for decades. He's been working in his chosen fields as an artist and writer and director. But it's really, he's had a kind of a turn of fortune in the last 5 or 6 years or so. So it was the script initially. It was so dynamic and it was so singular and like nothing I'd ever read. And I find, just as an actor, reading things and having a certain degree of choice, like I'm fortunate enough to have, you either lean into something as you're reading it or you don't. It's not really there's no real mental construct around what am I looking for, or what would be the next best thing, or what this idea of a career or maintaining a career or doing something that's different just for the sake of doing something that's different. You just end up, and inevitably I end up leaning into things that I feel I haven't explored before.
Yeah.
Just because it's fun. It's just really fun. I really, it doesn't take much for me to feel like I'm repeating myself, and that can feel kind of sticky in a unfortunate way. So this was very singular. It was very unique. I'd never read anything like it. It was. I flew through it, but I kind of felt nauseous reading it as well, because the film is, if you ever see it, it's incredibly loud. The colors are very brash. It's very bombastic. I mean, there's nothing subtle about it. I will say that now. And it was the same in reading it. It was kind of an assault on the senses in reading as well.
And had you ever? It's set in Macau, and
Yeah.
which is, I mean, I have never been myself. Have you ever been
Very
before?
strange place. Yeah, and a really interesting... I had never been there before. No. And I'm not sure I would have ever... It's a place that I would have ever gone to, because I think it's probably internationally known by most people, certainly by me, as a mecca for gambling.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the East's answer to Las Vegas. And basically Macau, the city, it's not far a drive from Hong Kong, but there were formerly 2 islands that constituted Macau. There was Taipei and, God bless you, Taipei and Calawan were the 2 small little islands, and there was a waterway, of course, between them both. And what they had, the government had the idea of dredging the sea floor, and they built an island, not an island, they actually joined the two islands with a land mass from the seafloor. So that's what it is. It's just landfill in the middle, so it created one big island. And the landfill in the middle is now that kind of mecca for gambling. It's just casinos, and there's like a third proportionally built Eiffel Tower, and there's Big Ben, and it's loud, and there's fountains, and Celine Dion is playing over the speaker all day, and nothing against Celine, but it just, and it's just a lot. There's a lot of colours and a lot of money, like ding, 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 fountains, music, Celine, here, far, wherever you are, and it's a lot. But the old parts of Macau are really, really interesting. I mean, places that build that have a foundation that is something as essential in the world, but potentially grotesque as just money, 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 money. They're not very interesting. They can be fascinating at first for a beat. There can be a sensory overload, of course, which there is in Vegas and there is in this part of Macau. But then the other two older parts, Taipei and Calawan. Calawan was the old fishing village that the Portuguese arrived on, I think, in the 18th century, in the 1700s. And that was really, really interesting. The contrast between the new kind of grotesque but extraordinarily colourful and loud gambling part nestled against these two older parts. The old town was Taipei, with beautiful old churches and small windy streets and really lovely restaurants and family-run restaurants, and then this other really sleepy part, which was the fishing village. That's where I went at the weekends just to get some space. But it was a fascinating place, and it really is a character in the film, very much so.
For sure is. I mean, all of this kind of comes, I felt like I was there, it really kind of comes through on screen. Your character is Lord Doyle in this, who has a bit of he's a high roller, but he's got a bit of a problem when He's a mess. And his luck is running out rapidly as we're introduced to him in the film. It's on top of what we were just describing about the setting in Macau and the noise of the music of the movie. Your performance, your character, it's very physical. He's physically and emotionally drained, and it seems like it was such a demanding role for you. And I'd love to know kind of how you approached it this way, and kind of what that took out of you, or how did you approach him as this character?
Yeah, I suppose I was fairly raw by the end of it. I was kind of everyone was fairly wrecked. I really am very hesitant to say that what we do is tough, because I harp on about good fortune and all that, and if you worry that you sound we love everyone. Edward Berger's incredibly smart in so many ways, but one of the greatest expressions of his intelligence, I think, and his creative intelligence, is also one of the greatest expressions of his generosity, and that is that he has amazing people around him. He delegates very generously, not because he's lazy. He's the furthest thing from. He has a huge engine. He has extraordinary stamina, but he has people around him that he trusts, in the makeup department, in the camera department, the set designers, production designers. And so everyone loved the script and loved the story, and everyone was really turned on and kind of magnetized by being in Macau together. Having said that, everyone was fucked by the end of the film. Because it was just, we had a lot of film to do and a lot of shots to get in a very small space of time, in an environment that isn't particularly film friendly, because they were live casino floors that we were shooting on. For me, the character, he's somebody who's on the precipice of a kind of insanity, and that also had its physical implications as well. There is something going on with his heart that he doesn't quite understand, whether it's anxiety or whether it's some kind of cardiac issue. But it was all like, the way a car can be in the red line, the revs, a car can't stay up there, or the engine will seize. And it was kind of the same thing from the time we meet him in the beginning of the story until the end, really. He's in the red zone. He's constantly anxious, fever pitch, energy. And a kind of a mania has overtaken him, born of desperation, born of all the things that he's contending with, I suppose, loneliness, sadness, a lack of meaning in his life. And he is living in an incredibly aggressive kind of spiritual or emotional vacuum, no connection to anyone. Like addicts, regardless of what the addiction is, inevitably end up inhabiting, which is just an emotional or spiritual or whatever you want to call it, vacuum, you know, where they really cannot connect to anything but the place where the next hit is coming from. But there's no human connection in his life at all. And the only character really that comes into his life that he has a connection, well, he could have an extraordinary connection with, and he does have some version of a connection, but he still kind of views her as an opportunity to better his own situation, is Fala Chen's character, Dao Ming. And I loved doing those scenes because they were kind of an opportunity for just a little bit of tenderness and a little bit of quietude between characters rather than the mania that he inhabits for most of the film.
And Tilda, you've worked with her before.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
what was
long
it like to
time
kind
ago.
of reunite with her in
Amazing.
this movie after all?
Amazing. I love Tilda. She was so much fun to play with. Yeah, I just, you know, some actors you just get some actors I feel more clearly than others the presence of their curiosity, you know, and it's usually represented by a playfulness and also by an ability to go off. Like I could see, working with Tilda, I could see her watching me I could just see, you know, and making decisions as people do in conversations. You listen to someone, you take them in and you respond not with a preconceived notion of what you're going to say. I mean, some do, but you respond based on what the person is giving you, and that is one of the most beautiful things about human interaction, is that there is a dance that's undefined that we get married into in brief encounters, in long relationships sometimes. And with Tilda, it was very much like that, working with her. She just changed a little bit every take, and every line was a little different, and it was always incredibly alive. And the relationship with her character from my guy is a lot more playful. Even though it's quite serious in the beginning, it's a lot more playful than the relationship with Fala's character, which I also loved in different ways.
It really is. It's an incredible movie. So as I said, please see it if you
Nice,
haven't
thank
already. So Colin, you have had an incredible career as of yet.
You want some water?
I'd love
Go on,
some.
you ask
Thank
me
you
something.
very much. You have worked with some of the biggest directors in the world: Ron Howard, Steven Spielberg, Martin McDonagh.
Do you ever talk to any of these?
No.
Ron's lovely.
I've interviewed Ron many moons
did you?
ago, a long time ago, when he did Rush.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's
which
great.
was great because it was his first
many people
independent.
saw it.
Not many people saw it, and it was the
Zero.
first. It's so good.
Fantastic film.
And you know, that's the only film, at that time, that he'd ever done outside of the studio system. It was like a
really?
proper independent,
That
know,
was?
Andrew Eaton? You know, Andrew
Yeah, yeah,
Eaton?
yeah.
That was him.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, such a great film.
Such a great
Ron's
film.
lovely, isn't he?
He's lovely.
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
just such a nice man.
Yeah.
But look, the list, I mean, Tim Burton, I mean, you've worked with so many. And I just kind of want to go back a little bit. You know, when was acting growing up for you, when you were growing up in Ireland, was this always on the cards for you? Did you always want to be an actor?
No, I wanted to be a footballer. I wanted to be a soccer player. Yeah. Yeah.
Were you good?
Laughter. I was handy enough.
What position did you play?
I actually was all over the place. I really was in sport and in life in general in subsequent years. But my father played professionally, and he played for Shamrock Rovers back in the day, and he played in the European Championship. He was part of the Shamrock Rovers team that beat Red Star Belgrade 5-1. He won the Irish. He won the FAI, the Football Association of Ireland Cup, a couple of times. He represented Ireland at a schoolboy level. I have his Irish shirt that he played in. So it was very much a part of my life, football, growing up. And it was the way in which my father and I could have a communication and a relationship. It was tricky everywhere else, but when it came to football, we were good to go, and we could play, you know. And he coached the team I played for until I was about 13 or 14. But then I started drinking and smoking and all that stuff. And then it fell by the wayside. And my sister went to theatre school. She went to drama school.
Okay.
My older sister, Catherine. And it was the first time in my life when I heard that she was going to, quote unquote, study acting. It sounded ridiculous. What do you mean study act? I didn't think it was something that you could apply yourself to within a formal structure and actually, pay attention to the idea of a craft and learn breathing techniques and etc. So her adventure into that world was kind of my first exposure to the idea that it was a possibility. But I always loved film, and I always loved the escapism of film. And I learned so much about what it is, I think, as people do if they give themselves over to the film experience. We really do learn a lot, I certainly have, about what it is to be a human being. Because our own experience is limited to our own experience, and thereby it's limited to whatever the environment is we grow up in, and it's limited to the traumas and the hopes of the people that raise us. And so it can be quite a limiting experience being human. That's why it's great when you hear like 17 or 18-year-olds, deciding to take a year off before they go to college and travel in the world. It's extraordinary. Fun, yes, but it's actually really profound as well, because they get out into the world and they see how other people live, and they see how other people respond to the idea of community and society, and they just get to spread their wings. So in that kind of way, I feel that film is an opportunity for us to kind of have a cultural gaze into another time and place, and literally by virtue of our own ability to connect to the visual image and to the audio experience, we can have an experience that we wouldn't be able to have otherwise. Not saying I got all that from Indiana Jones, which was, of course, my early fodder with Indiana Jones and George Lucas and Robert Zemeckis, and Back to the Future is still a perfect piece of cinema, American cinema, as far as I'm concerned. But years later, then I was introduced to films of Wim Wenders or Wong Kar-wai a little bit, and I started or Mike Lee. I'll never forget seeing Naked with David Thewlis, and what David Thewlis did in Naked just actually shook me to my core. So it was later on I started to branch out into some independent films and some more kind of nuanced, behaviorally nuanced pieces as well. But I still I got this thing last night, and golden icon, and I was talking about what a joy it is, and what it seems ridiculous to get any award ever, because the work is such an award in itself. It really is, and I'm doing it 25 years. And I can't say I know a single thing more than I knew 25 years ago. Because, it's always, the human experience as an expression of creation is so infinitely fascinating, and it's endlessly perturbing and confusing and heartening at times, and hope building, but then also devastating. But every single person, it's like the human fingerprint there's no two the same, 8 billion people, but it's like the fingerprint is just a physical manifestation of the fact that there are no two people who are exactly the same behaviorally, who think the same about things, who respond the same to things. It's just so, there's no such thing as truly, there's no reason why we should ever repeat ourselves. Yeah. Well,
you haven't really in your career. I think if you look at your kind of the breadth of work you've done, it's spanned from, big studio films to very smart independent choices. And you started it all with Ballykissangel and BBC, didn't you? Which was, that was your first, if I'm right.
That was amazing.
What a great show. What was that experience like, and what did that kind of do for you to catapult you?
Yeah. Just I went to the same theatre school my sister went to.
Right.
I followed suit about 5 or 6 years after she left, and I got that job during the summer break, and I gave me
How
a chance.
How old were you, sir?
Maybe 20, and it gave me a chance to do something I do very well, which is drop out. So I dropped out after the first year. I dropped out after the first year of drama school, and because I had work, and I just thought, somebody maybe a little more wise and a little more patient would have went, okay, I have a job I could do, or else I could just stay here for now. I'm 20, I could stay, I could learn my craft. But I was, I just said, fuck it, and I'm gone. And I started working, and I worked with an extraordinary bunch of actors, Tina Kelleher and Tony Doyle and Birdie Sweeney, who I played his nephew, and it was amazing. It was an amazing learning experience. I had no idea what I was doing, and it was very no frills. No big fancy trailers and no big fancy craft services, and you'd help bringing the camera from one set to another, and it was shot in a rural part of Ireland just outside of Dublin. But it was really, there was a real communal energy to it. There was no preciousness. There was no over-intellectualization of anything. The work wasn't extraordinarily deep or complex, but they were all living, breathing characters as designed and as rich as you could make them. And I had an amazing experience on that. It was a real eye-opener, and it was huge for me. It was a TV show. I was on television. I was 20. It was like, whoa. It was massive.
It was a huge show.
Yeah, and it was a really big show at that time. Yeah. I did 2 years on that.
And then after that, though, it seems like your star really started to rise. You went to work on, you worked on The War Zone with Tim Roth.
I did a little bit on that, yeah.
And then you worked with Joel Schumacher.
Joel, Joel was a life changer for me.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about working with him. He was at a very peak point in his career.
Yeah, he wanted to do something that, again, Joel was always experimenting and doing films of different tonalities and looking at different subjects and bigger and smaller. And I mean, he's kind of, he made two of the seminal kind of 80s movies that'll survive the test of time, St. Elmo's Fire and obviously Shampoo as well, but St. Elmo's Fire and The Lost Boys. So I actually knew who he was, even though I didn't know that many directors at that point. And I met him in London, and he was doing an American film set in a boot camp in 1973 towards the end of the Vietnam War. And it was going to be kind of no frills for Joel. He wanted to hire a bunch of unknown actors. He wanted to put them all in a boot camp for 2 weeks under the stewardship of a Lieutenant Mike Stokey is his name. And yeah, he took a chance on an Irish kid. I met him. I got on really well with him. We had a good laugh. And I remember him saying to me, calling me up after I met him in London on a general meeting. Well, for the film, but I didn't know he was even doing a film. It was kind of, I thought it was a general. And he said, look, I'm going to be doing this film. He said, why don't you put yourself on tape for it? So I put myself on tape, I sent the tape over. He called me again and he said, I'm not sure if it's right for you or if you can do it or if you're ready. He said, but if you're going to be in LA in the next 2 weeks, maybe you can read for me in person. And I said, okay, cool. And I put down the phone. I booked my ticket immediately. And then I went over to his house and I read with Matt Davis, who played Paxton. And then I had a really great audition. I wasn't great, but the guy I was auditioning with was great. I got the part. And then Shea Wiggum was auditioning for Wilson. And we were there was a very kind of contentious relationship between my character and Shea Wiggum's character. And we were reading in a hotel in New York, and there's one scene in the film where it kind of gets a bit violent between the two of them. Me and Shea ended up fucking going for it in this fancy hotel room in New York. It was amazing. There was a tray of food with gorgeous silver, and we ended up on the table, and the food everywhere in the room. And Joel was like, "Oh my God!" And he was amazing. Shea got the part, and then we went to Florida, and we had this extraordinary experience together. It was a bunch of young 20-something actors, and we all had dreams and ambitions, and we were all kind of excitable and excited by life and by possibility, and it was really amazing. And we all kind of got under each other's skin in a way. We were all very open with each other, and we all had our attitudes, and we were all kind of cocky in our own different ways, but we were also all fairly sensitive, kind of vulnerable young men. And though we didn't have to ever talk about our vulnerability, it was just there. It was part of what brought us all together in an unspoken way. And it was beautiful. I just learned a lot with those boys and love them and see them to this day. Yeah, but Joel kind of changed my life, yeah.
Amazing. And then, I mean, it's interesting after that, then fast forward, a year or two, and you're working with Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise.
Yeah, that was
Minority
weird.
Report. I mean, what was that like for you
mad.
to kind of be in Hollywood? And you had then Alexander after that. I mean, you had been on the scene for 3-4 years at the time, 4 or 5. And here you are in Hollywood, with the biggest, the biggest Hollywood star working with Steven Spielberg. I mean, what was that experience like? And also to be working in Hollywood at a time when these films were still, it felt like a very good time in Hollywood. There were big films, people were going to the cinema all the time. What was that like?
Oh, it was just really exciting. Yeah, it was just really exciting. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've never been able to fully remove, nor do I want to. I think sometimes we can damage ourselves and fall afoul of potholes that we don't need to, cut up our legs in falling into, but by separating ourselves ever swiftly from our childhoods, and I understand why we do, and I understand why we want to move on and stuff, but I've got to meet and work with a lot of people that I grew up watching, and I mean, the first time I saw Tom Cruise in something, I don't know if it was The Outsiders or if it was Risky Business or whatever it was, or Top Gun when I was 8 or 9 years of age, but I had a whole relationship with a bunch of people from a distance, objective relationship, but somewhat subjective as well because of what I felt when I was watching their films. Al Pacino, I mean, I got to work with him in my third year working as an actor in film. I mean, it was pure bananas. And I think it was, I didn't know how to, so I was constantly trying to normalize the experience in a way that, I don't know, I didn't need to try so hard to normalize. I really did. I thought, none of this means, I was very good with the none of this means anything kind of shtick. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I don't care, I don't give a fuck, and this is all, And that was just because I was afraid to probably just inhabit how overwhelmingly magic it was. Like, it was really magic. I was a kid from Dublin who wanted to be a footballer and played football until he was 13 or 14, and I had my own internal struggles and my own existential battles that I was, trying to figure out in my own way as kids, young adults do. And then all this stuff happened, and it was really amazing. I think it was yeah. I won't get into that, but I think it didn't make sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. You're, and I'm not comparing myself to her talent. I want to be clear. But you're Amy Winehouse, and you sit in a radio studio room, and somebody puts a microphone in front of you, and you open your mouth and you sing. And what everyone hears could crack open the hardest of hearts. And she looks like she's just chipped a nail. I mean, it's such a raw and powerful gift. And I'll get to what I'm saying. And then the whole world to her responds and comes on top and wants something and wants more of that thing, and tells her or other people who have been in a similar dynamic situation that they're amazing or they're this and they're that. And she's like, what the fuck? It's just part of who I am. So in my own very crass way, I was just, there was a lot of luck. And Amy's thing isn't luck, but there was a lot of luck. There was a lot of good fortune. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't understand. That was great. And they were all gifts. But it was so loud and it was so global. And I was so unprepared. And I don't know if anyone can be prepared, but I was so immature, and I was 22, but kind of maybe 12. And, and I can still be 12 on any given day, but I mean, living in 12 all the time. Like I was so, and it terrified me. And it terrified me that I would buy into it. But I hadn't earned it. And what I think, the simple thing I understand today at 49 is that I don't believe there is any kind of concrete earning of a certain amount of good fortune that befalls people, certain people, for whatever reason. And you can do your best with what comes your way, etc., as we know. But there was no, I couldn't, I know there's, I know there's actors who've been working 30 or 40 years and they're on a stage in Sofia, Bulgaria, doing the most extraordinary work imaginable. And maybe they wouldn't want to go to Hollywood. I'm not saying they even want what I was experiencing. I want to be clear about that as well. But there is no better. There is no deserving. There's none of that shit. There's just applying yourself. Like, I often wonder if I didn't have the opportunities that came my way very early, and if things didn't happen the way they were, and I don't, not sleepless nights wondering, but I have wondered, would I be able to be an actor? Would I be able to raise a family and slog it out and do a smaller part in a play and find meaning and significance as one can and one should, of course, ideally? Would I be able to do that? Or was it the fame? You know, I've wondered, and I'd like to think I would, because I fundamentally love telling stories with other actors and with writers and with set designers and with directors. I love it. I love bringing stories to life. It's such a joy. Yeah, that was a long-winded answer to something you said.
It's. I thought it was a very open and honest and wonderful thing to hear, your experience of that. And I wonder, you know, because a few years later, I want to talk about some of the repeat directors you've worked with, Martin McDonagh, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, a few years later, you started working with him in Bruges, and how did that kind of come about? Because given what you've just told us, you know, did he offer a sense of like familiarity to you, or was there, you know, he made some very interesting kind of indie films.
Yeah.
How did that relationship start, and was that almost like a welcome sort of change of course from you know, the Spielberg, the big Hollywood stuff?
Yeah, well, big Hollywood stopped calling. There was a certain point. It was like, yeah. From, you know, there was a certain point where, I wasn't, at a certain point I had a bit of a reputation that I earned, and probably was like, you know, I wasn't in a very good place myself, personally, in my life, and just all, I suppose, you know, and it's not a sad story. I swear, I'm not woe is me. It just, as a young man at 25 or 26, just all of the being away from family, missing the births of certain kids, of friends of mine, missing funerals of my grandparents, and being on the road. Like, it's not, oh, poor me, but I was just working from 22 to 27, drinking so much, doing whatever else, and I was just go. I had no foundation. Like, honestly, I come in here, one of the things you asked me about Zurich, I just feel there's a really, really keen sense of community and family here, and people are connected and they're kind to each other and they're considerate. I feel that in the air when I come here. And I walked the streets yesterday as soon as we drove in across the bridge and we got to the hotel. I went out for a walk and it just felt lovely. I had none of that. It was there. I could have plugged into it, I suppose, but it wasn't where I was at the time. And so, yeah, before Martin called for Bruges, I'd had a very publicly bumpy time. And then he sent me that script, and I knew Martin from before, from back in the day when we used to get into a little bit of mischief together in London. And he was the wunderkind of British theatre. And he sent me the script, and I read it, and the script for In Bruges, he wrote it in 3 weeks. It was a first draft. There was no second draft. He's just so brilliant.
Such an amazing
He's an
film.
Extraordinary writer.
Yeah.
And pretty handy director too, of course. But he sent me that. I loved it. And then I met him, and I tried to talk him out of casting me, as I've said before. Yeah, I really did. I really did. I sat down, I said, you should not cast me in your film. I said, you should really go for someone else. And he was like, why? And I said, because I have by that stage I had a certain amount of baggage, reputation. I said, this writing is so beautiful that the idea that anyone would either, one, stay away, or two, that they would come in with a certain kind of attitude because of a perceived relationship they had with me, born of my reputation at this point. I said, you don't want to start off in that place. I said, it's so good. Just, you know, go with someone else. And he was like, thanks, you're not a casting director. I want you to do it. And I said, okay. Yeah, I said, all right,
But
cool.
thank
Cool, I'm in.
goodness.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
it was, yeah, and I
what-
got to work with Brendan and
Yeah.
Brendan, who I just love so much and is kind of like a soulmate. And I, again, I trusted Martin completely, and I love him dearly as well. He's a dear friend. I suppose it was a bit of a, it was a bit of a turning point. Was it the first job I did sober? It might have been the first job I did sober,
Wow.
which was,
So
was
he's,
tricky.
you know,
It's tricky.
a lot of credit to him, though. He's kind of really seen you through
yeah,
different
Yeah, absolutely.
points of your life.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
he believed in you, you know. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you've done some incredible work together, you know, which we've all been able to enjoy. So
Thank you.
thank goodness.
Thanks, Dee.
I also want to talk about Yorgos Lanthimos
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
I mean, you were he's obviously his star. He's everyone knows who Yorgos Lanthimos is now. You were there very early on.
Yeah.
You did The Lobster with him and Killing of a Sacred Deer. I would love if you can recall to tell me, what was it like when you first read that script for The Lobster? I mean, it's mad, you know. And at the time,
What the hell I was
at the
reading.
time, we'd never seen anything like it. And he's a very singular director, and
He's about as singular in modern cinemas as
Yes.
it gets. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. He's created a kind of a whole world of behavior and considerations that are very awkward and very unusual and very uncomfortable for me as a viewer, but also have at their core a great truth about the contemporary experience of being a human being. I had seen Dogtooth.
which is pretty
Yeah, which
wild,
is- Have you seen
very
it?
uncomfortable
Dogtooth?
watching,
Yeah.
but it's great.
See Dogtooth. It's one of his Greek films, and it's extraordinary. It's so disturbing, but it's
Very disturbing.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. But it's extraordinarily realized. I was shooting a thing in Philadelphia, and I went to cinema one night. I saw Dogtooth, and I came out of the cinema just mind blown, and I just thought, who is that filmmaker? He's just, number one, he's fucked. He's mental. And number two, he's extraordinary. Like, I was just... And then about a year passed, and I got a call from my agent when I was back in Los Angeles, and he said, a script came in for you. You probably won't know the director, but there's a good bit of buzz around him. His name is Yorgos Lanthimos. He did this thing called Dogtooth. And I went, ooh. Ooh. I was like, I saw that. And he went, oh, you didn't like it? And I said, no. It was extraordinary. But wow, what a film. And he went, yeah, well, I remember he said, I don't know that this is the thing we do next, but it's definitely worth a look. It's interesting. And I read it, and I loved it so much. But I couldn't imagine how, because if you're reading the script, of course, you're inevitably wondering how the set of circumstances or the behaviors or the attitude or whatever it is about the character, how that could become normal to you, how you could, through a journey of conversations with your collaborators and exploration, how you could venture bit by bit that the script and the characters aren't something that are objective in the world, but you're a subject to their lives and to the story. So The Lobster was one I just thought, how do you ever say that shit? And it be and it not be, and I think, yeah, that was why I kind of just possibly went beneath everything and didn't try to. I think the worst crime I could have committed. It wasn't like a decided thing we spoke about. Having the character like talking to, you know. It wasn't a spoken agreement or anything. I think I'd probably seen in Dogtooth that there was less of a concern about, again, contemporary naturalism. Was less of a concern, that you had to allow, not force the absurdity either, but allow the absurdity to be what it was on the page and just bring breath and movement to that rather than try and normalize it or, you know, bring any kind of familiar airs or energies to the script. And so I was just like, I'll just do nothing with it. I'll just be a bit lost. That's what I'll go for.
What is he like as a director?
He's lovely. He's very specific. Yeah, he's lovely. He's he's masterful. He's very gentle and he's quiet, and the set is very ordered. And yeah, he'll come in and he'll have his camera and he'll have a look at a few different angles, and and then he'll decide the first shot. And he's lovely. He's like, he really is a master. He really is. He's an extraordinary storyteller. And yeah, I remember the first time we spoke, you know, we had a Zoom together, or whatever it was called back then. And Skype is what
remember
it was.
Skype
is what it was.
That was the one.
Yeah. Skype theme. Yeah, we had a Skype, and you know, obviously I can talk sometimes, and he was great. He must have said about 10 words on the Skype in the space of an hour. It's fascinating. He can really hold silence beautifully, and as his films can also, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a wonderful filmmaker. I'm so glad he's doing what he's doing. I haven't seen Begonia yet, but I can't wait.
No, I haven't yet, unfortunately. But I can't wait. He's, you know, thank goodness for directors like him.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Yeah, he's amazing.
So look, I want to move to kind of a little bit more current now, and you, I think you might be one of the few only actors that's worked in both Marvel and DC. Is that right? I mean, might that be right? You know, because you did Daredevil back in the day, but I can't think of anyone else that's kind of crossed. I could be wrong. But I'm a big DC fan myself. I think the characters are darker and more interesting, and that is my personal opinion. Me too. Tell me about, I mean, Matt Reeves, the Batman. Your performance as Penguin was one of, you know, the most talked about things after that film. You're phenomenal, and you can't even see that it's you. You know, you really have to look. I'd love to know, you know, what was that like to play that character? Were you always, you know, what was your kind of relationship with the DC world before that? If you were going in that world, did you want to be a villain, you know, and maybe tell us a little bit about how you kind of prepped for Oswald Cobb and that experience.
Thank you, love. I met the script in a kind of a short-sighted fashion. Matt Reeves sent it to me. And I was so excited when I heard Matt wants to talk to you, the director wants to talk to you, the writer wants to talk to you about the film, about playing the part of Penguin. And I just was like, no way. Really? And they were like, yeah, I just thought I was thinking of Burgess Meredith, and I was thinking of Danny DeVito, and again, that child who sat on the carpet in Dublin at the age of 5, watching Batman 66, and then at the age of 11 or 12, saw Tim Burton's Batman with Danny DeVito, and used to draw Batman signals on his jeans and shit. And so I was like, wow, that could be, I'm so excited. The script came, I read it, and I was like, oh, I only got 5 scenes.
Oh, no.
I got so greedy. And I didn't really get it either. That was the short-sighted part. I was kind of like, I don't know. He's just it's a bit one note. He's a bit silly. He's a bit of a putz. Could this be more interesting? And I was wrong, because it was there on the page. I just couldn't see it. I had some preconceived notion or something that I was looking for, and it wasn't that. It was fantastic on the page. But then I saw, I still wanted to, I was like, but I huffed and hawed. I was like, I don't know, maybe, and all that kind of shit. And then I spoke to Matt, and I love Matt Reeves as a filmmaker. I don't know, for me, of a filmmaker that mixes kind of artistic integrity and creativity and curiosity, behavioral curiosity, intellectual curiosity, with a commercial kind of scope and vastness and entertainment also. And from Cloverfield to his Planet of the Apes films. Anyway, we spoke, and then I agreed to sign on to it, and I was in his office, and he said to me, have you spoken to Mike Marino, who's the makeup designer of the Penguin? And I said, yeah, we've been sending pictures back and forth. And he said, did Mike show you what you're going to look like? Which that line in itself was really, for someone say, yeah, did Mike show you what you're going to look like? Was a very powerful kind of, and I went, no. And I'll never forget, Matt went, come here. And he opened up his laptop and he went, look. And it was the first time I saw the makeup.
Wow.
the first time I saw it, and I did have totally the cogs crunched. And
Did you get a bit panicked? Like,
well, no, I
just
just went, well, what do you mean?
Right.
I said, well, what do you mean? Like, I thought CGI, like, what do you, and he went, no, he said he can make you look like that and that nobody will notice, like, it'll be, I went, really? And he said, yeah. I was like, that's extraordinary. And I could see, then the script became clear to me. I could see through Mike Marino's imagination and every little pockmark and every scar, and there was such the character was ferocious looking, but there was also, I could imagine a sadness to aspects of that character's life. Even the world is cruel, even moving through the world looking like that, even like, and it just gave me so much information. I was, oh my God. And then we did a screen test, and it was very weird. It was amazing, but it was very weird. I mean, you just you give yourself over to it, and there was a degree of kind of, I want to say possession, but there was as close to being overtaken by something as I have ever been, was on that. And a lot of it was the distance that I was afforded, the seeming distance that I was afforded myself. I mean, I've said it before, it's very powerful to look at yourself in the mirror and see that looking back at you.
Wild.
It was wild. It was wild.
Because it must have been the weirdest experience.
No, and I could riff
take?
all day as the Penguin. Oh, I could come on this stage and talk to you for 5 hours and not break character once. And the weird thing was, I'm not saying this is a boast, it was just weird. The strange thing was that I would have a totally different humor. Totally different than I used to send my kids messages, how you doing, kid? Yeah, you doing your homework? And I'd do all that shit.
Were
and
they
it
like,
was
Dad, cut it out?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally over it. But I used to send messages in character, and it was so much fun. It was so much fun.
So great. How long did that? I'm sure
3 hours in the morning.
That's it. I felt like it would be more. I mean, that's
no,
a
it
long
started.
time.
The first day was
like,
8 hours.
Okay.
And then it went 7, 6, 5, 4.
Wow.
And then we were around 4 hours for a while, and then they got it on like 2 hours. We'd start the doop, boop, and every day in 2 hours 58 minutes, hog-tied.
Did you know at the time, like at what stage, because obviously the series, The Penguin, follows on from the end of the film. At what point were you made aware that this was going to happen? Like at what stage did you know?
That there was going to be a show?
There was going to be a show and that you'd be continuing this universe. Like was that early on in the film? Because it feels like it's very well set up for that, but I guess they have to wait.
No,
and see how it does.
exactly. No, I had said to Dylan Clark, who was Matt Reeves' producing partner and also his friend and a friend of mine now, I think about 3 weeks into the shoot of the Batman film, I went up to Dylan and I said, we should do a show. We should do a show. Because Mike's makeup design was so extraordinary and really was very moving. Like it was very touching again to be a part of it, because I felt like I was stepping into the lineage of artists like Dick Smith, who did the original Planet of the Apes and did F. Murray Abraham's makeup Salieri on Milos Forman's Amadeus and won the Oscar for that. Dick Smith, who's no longer with us. Mike Marino was a pupil of his, kind of an apostle of his. Rick Baker, all these extraordinary artists. Rob Bodine, who did all the makeup in The Thing, back in the days when makeup was all practical. And so I felt doing that part, I was like part of Hollywood history. It was really cool, but there was no plan for it. It was because the makeup was so extraordinary. I thought, this is such a waste to only have 5 scenes of this, not me in it. It was just this. I was like, we can do so much with this beautiful makeup that Mike designed. And then, it was a while after the film, and Dylan texted me and said, do you remember we were talking about, well, we want to talk about an idea for a pitch for a show for HBO for 8 hours, and that was it. But we didn't, no idea it would be received the way it was at all. Truly no idea.
Truly phenomenal. It's such a wonderful piece of television work.
It was such a horrible joy, yeah.
And he, having been it's very dark.
Dark character, very
dark.
pained character.
Make Oswald Cobb, you feel for him. You feel it's very sad, what you were saying earlier.
Character in crazy amount of pain.
Yeah.
His whole life, which is pain is never a justification for any act of aggression or anger or any like violence. Pain is not the justification, but you know, we do try to understand it and understand from whence certain things came so that we can ideally adjust and, you know.
You won a Golden Globe for your performance, Penguin. What does that, you know, what do accolades mean for you at this stage in your career? And after you just said the reception this show had, when we kind of earlier you were talking about a dark time that you were having, and you know, kind of now where you are today in your career, you know, what did that mean, and what do accolades mean for you, if at all? Is that something that matter to you, or you know?
I'm suspicious of them. You know, because you kind of do want them, but you don't like that you want them, and and then that means then you don't want them, and then, but why don't you want them? You certainly don't do it for them, but you can get caught up in the energy to the point where, you know, because I suppose if still at 49, sometimes, you know, in ways I'm aware of, but also sometimes in unconscious ways, I'm still looking for some kind of worth or a confirmation that my life has meaning. Of course, I can access that alone, like genuinely, not all the time, but in a park on my own, I can fucking access that. Sitting in a river on my own, I can say, I'm in a river, I have breath in my body, my life has meaning and worth, this is enough. I don't live there all the time. I still fall afoul of, you know, did I do okay? And was that okay? And I get a lot of meaning through being a father, so much meaning, but I can't put all of it on my kids, of course. And so that part of you as a human that's looking for a little bit of meaning or a little bit of certainty, that gets activated around awards and shit. Yeah. And so I'm suspicious of it. But at the same time, utterly grateful anytime I've been nominated. And it really is, the nominations I've experienced in my life are easily the most joyful part of it. Oh. And I'm not saying that as a line. Like, I swear to God, and I'll just tell you my reasons why, is because one of the things that success may be in any field, but certainly I feel fame does, one of the things that it wants to do, that it dreams of doing, is separating you from everyone. And it does it through a process of kind of illusions that seem like reality, and it makes you feel like you're better, or you have entitlement, or you're this or you're that or the other. All that kind of stuff that's very easy and very seductive. And next thing you end up doing, you know, you're ordering all your food in, you're doing the exercise class on your own in your living room with a personal trainer. You never have to leave your house because you're afraid of going out. You know, it could become. And so winning an award, it's a little bit of that. The real joy and shock every time is if you get nominated for something and then it's you and 4 of your fellow actors. And that's like, what a joy. You know, you get spoken of beside, you know, Brian Tyree, Henry, Cooper Cock, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Stephen Graham. And it's the 5 years. And then the separation, you know, when I've heard my name called, it's not that fun. It's manic. Like, it's a big moment. The energy is weird. You know, it's overwhelming. And you go on the stage and you get verbal diarrhea and you thank the people you feel. You thank the people you feel you should thank. But it's weird. It's again saying you're on your own better. And it is fundamentally, there's no argument again. It's bullshit. Because you can't win in what we do. And that's the beautiful thing. One of the beautiful things about it is there is no victory. There's only the question, there's only the journey, however you wish to share it with the people you're working with. But there's no victory. Nobody crosses the finish line first. Nobody, you know, puts the basketball in the hoop as the seconds are ticking away. Nobody wins on a penalty shootout. Nobody gets counted down for 10 seconds and knocked out, and the other guy gets his hand raised. It's impossible, but yet I get why it's there, and I'm not harping on about it. It is lovely. The times I've heard my name called, it is a manic kind of joy, but the real juice, the real loveliness is just being part of the community in that moment where you and a few other actors are told, you did okay, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Really great way to look at it.
It's true.
So quickly before, I just want one more question, a couple more questions before we open up to the audience.
Yeah.
But what can you tell us about the next Batman movie you're going to be? Are you in it? And what do you know? What can you tell us? Nothing.
Yeah, very little. I can tell you I read it start to finish, and as much as I loved the first script, like the whole read, I know I had misgivings about the Penguin part, but the first Batman film, the script I read was brilliant. This is, for me, it's deeper, it's scarier, the stakes are higher emotionally, and
you've got more than 5 scenes.
No, I don't actually. No, even. But I'm okay. I was spoiled with the 8 hours I got. I'm fine. Yeah. But just as a fan of scripts and stories and films, it's so brilliant. And Matt, you know, Reeves, he took his time and he created, just an extraordinary story. Really, so full of feeling. Really sad in parts, and it's brilliant. I'm very excited to see it. Whatever about my involvement in it, I'm super excited to see it someday on a screen that looks not unlike this.
What's next for you then? Do you have ambitions for other, maybe, directors you want to work with that you haven't? Would you? No,
not really. No, I mean I have ambitions. Yeah, just to. What are my ambitions?
Would you ever direct?
I'd love to someday, yeah. I'd love to someday. Yeah, because it's fun to talk about it all and to work with actors. I always have such a thrilling time. So I'd love to someday. It's just, it really is sandbox stuff.
Yeah.
You know, when you're with an actor or actors and a director and you're trying to figure out a scene, you're getting it on its feet and you're moving around. It's so much fun. It really can be. It can be very frustrating as well. You can bang your head against the wall and it can make no sense and be somewhat defeating. But yeah, I'd love to someday. But I've nothing lined up. I'm just time off, go home, be with the kids, go get back into some running. I've been very lazy recently with my running, which I miss here, and that's it. Read not scripts, but read other things and some road trips. I'm really looking forward to a few road trips. Yeah, and be home with the kids and just that. I've been, blessed but busy, so I'm looking forward to a bit of time off. Yeah.
Well deserved, I think.
Seriously.
Let's open this up to, I'm sure we have some people in the audience that have questions. We have a lady with a microphone over here who will come to you if you have your hand up.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Christian.
Hi,
I'm
Christian.
actually also 49, which is kind of funny.
Sorry to hear that, man.
I'm sorry too. So I actually have two questions. So you live in LA, you're obviously part of your time, and you're in a microcosm of Hollywood, and a lot of actors, a lot of acting around you. How do you keep up with that? Put up with that? That it's just being authentic. How difficult is this, and how do you manage to be authentic and to know who to rely on, because a lot of people are probably not, and showing something they're not, and how difficult is this? And the second question is a very straight one. Have you experienced any burger while being in Zurich?
Any what?
Have you any hamburger? Because I read that you're a big fan, and if not, I know a really good place I could take you to.
You've read an interview or two of mine, or no? It's usually the first thing I do is check out where there's a bathhouse and a good cheeseburger everywhere I go. I know, man. I mean, you know, I get the question, the first question. LA's not a bad place at all. Like, artifice is part of the human experience. Do you know what I mean? It really is. And it's obviously oftentimes a defense mechanism, or it's because we're afraid of showing who we are, or we don't know who we are, we don't trust what we might be, or whatever it is. You know, we adopt, we adjust, we adapt to our environment from a very early age, and we create these personas and blah, 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 blah. So, you know, while the pretense of certain parts of the collective experience might be more obvious in certain cities, usually the bigger cities, whether it's even in Ireland, Dublin, you know, there maybe be a little bit more pretense in Dublin than Galway or than Cork, or maybe, you know, because while maybe it's more apparent in Los Angeles, there's tons of really good people there. And I'm fortunate to say, I don't feel like I literally live about 2 miles away from Hollywood, the zip code. But I don't feel the presence of it when I'm not working at all. I don't go to premieres. I don't usually go to the restaurants where I know the paparazzi are. And not because I'm trying to, it just doesn't interest me. I have no desire for any of the bells and whistles, you know? I just have no desire. My life is elsewhere. So, yeah, it doesn't interest me at all. And I'm not fully authentic, obviously. I'm not fully authentic all the time. I don't know who the fuck I am most of the time, and I'm trying to figure. always trying to figure that out. And you know, I certainly won't bring the honesty of the mood I wake up in the morning out into the world. And sometimes I will, and not all the times, and blah blah blah. So I forgive people their artifices, and knowing that I have my own, and move through the world as I can. You know.
I'm curious about that cheeseburger place, though.
I had a burger last night at the hotel that I'm staying at, and it was amazing. And it said on the menu, the best burger in town, which I can neither confirm or deny because it's the only burger in town I've had. But, where do you like, man? Where were you going to say?
There's a place in Christ 4, it's called.
What's it called?
In another area of Zurich.
Yeah. What's the name of the place? I'll find it. What's it called?
It's Donald's.
McDonald's?
No.
No. Donald's. I got it. Drop the Mac.
Donald's.
Drop the Mac. Okay, that's easy to remember. Thanks, man. I thought you were gonna sell me on a Big Mac there. That would have been so strange.
Oh man. Okay. Anyone? Another question. Where is the? There's a lady with a mic.
Hi.
She's in the back there. Oh. Sorry.
I want to say thank you for existing and to do what you do.
Apparently,
really,
I had no
you're
choice.
Great. Thank you for being in this life. And thank your parents. How is it to be you? Like, are you happy in your life? How difficult is it to be you and to wake up every morning and to do your best?
Oh,
and
Jesus.
Everybody are expecting so
Very
much
big
of you
question.
and love you. And how is it to be you? Like, are you happy?
I feel like you and me should go to Donald's and get a burger and have a talk about this. I have moments of extraordinary happiness, and I have moments of deep, abject fear, and I have moments of frustration. Like anyone, I'm just going to answer what I think most people could probably answer. I have moments of such heart hurting, but also expanding hope when I see acts of generosity and kindness and people connecting. And then, you know, I have fear for the future, as I said, anxiety, deep, deep joy, peace, agitation, fucking, you know, all of it. But I, you know, I'm not a stoic, but the idea of, and it's very easy for me to say with the life that I've had, but the idea of amor fati and trying to accept life as it comes and not do nothing in the face of it. That's not what I mean, but just understand that sometimes things that seem like blessings can somehow present themselves at a later date as curses or pains, and sometimes things that seem like pains can somehow, we can glean from them extraordinary gifts and meanings. But for me, are you happy? It's a fair question, but there's no yes or no. It's like asking the sky, is it sunny? And you'll get a different answer wherever you go in the world, but, sometimes it is, sometimes it's cloudy, sometimes it's rain, sometimes a cloud hugs the ground. Feels like it's 200 feet from the planet. Sometimes clouds seem like they're above the sun. Sometimes it seems like the sun doesn't exist. Sometimes the sun hides from us and the moon gives us light. Sometimes the moon is obscured. So life feels like that to me in many ways, and I'm very grateful for that fact. And I'm fine with, the older I get, I'm fine with sadness. I'm fine with loneliness. Fine with company. I'm fine with joy, and all of it. It's just, it moves. Life moves through you or moves through us as we move through it. It seems.
What a lovely answer to a very big question.
That was a big question.
That was a very big question. I didn't know where you were going with that, Colin, but well done. Do we have time for one more? No, I'm afraid we don't. Ladies and
Thank you so
gentlemen,
much,
put your
everyone.
hands together. Colin Farrell, thank you so much.
So one question, because bless her. One question here.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, is that okay?
One last question
Sorry,
from
yeah,
this lady
right,
here.
You're welcome. You don't need a mic. What is it, love?
Yes.
You don't need a mic. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
okay. You said before that you stayed like 5 hours method into the penguin. Is method your acting style? Or,
No, I don't have a style.
Don't have. How do
No.
you approach? How do you approach a role then? Has it changed over the years?
It changes gig to gig, day to day. Like, honest to God, it's the same answer to are you happy? It's all over the place. It's quite messy. I'm not very academically inclined, and I never have been. I wasn't very good in school. I wasn't a good student. Thank you so much, but it's just thank you. It's just it's just read and imagine, and then you begin to bring more material things, and you get hit with behavioral thoughts and ideas, and you observe the world, and it's all that kind of stuff. Like it's really fun. I'm not lying when I say it's fun. It's just a laboratory, really. Thanks for the question. All the best. See you.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.